Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. The live stream of consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question, what is consciousness? Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes, welcome to the live stream of consciousness. My favorite moment of the week is right now. It's this moment that we're in right now. We have decided collectively to refer to it as Thursday, November 21st, just for the record of the archive when this video gets saved. I'm super excited. I'm feeling a lot of energy right now in general about this show and what it's all about, and the energy that has been kind of crossing my path over the last couple of weeks. I just did a broadcast at 7 o'clock with Grace Grella. We do a call-in psychic show, so it's like the old school TV call-in psychic shows, but it's on the internet, it's live. She does readings, and I love doing that. I see an amazing amount of people out there today. I got hello from the UK, I got hello from Wisconsin, I got hello from Colorado and Florida. That's awesome. I love everybody showing up. That's amazing. If you guys can just type in hashtag live so that I know that you're live, so that the algorithm knows that there are actually people watching this and interested in it. I realized that I am actually a big fan of shows like this. I think that's why I started it, right? So I watch Next Level Soul with Alex Ferrari. There's a bunch of people who are having these conversations. Third Eye Drops, I love that one. There's a bunch of people having these amazing conversations, and humanity is interested. People are actually listening to these conversations. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm excited. It is an international episode tonight. Usually for the first couple of years, I was thanking Tim, who is one of our viewers, who was in Brazil, who's in the United States now, but he was the one who made my show international. Now I'm starting to talk to international guests, and I'm super excited about that. So again, welcome to the live stream of consciousness, this moment that everybody who is here right now and watching the archive is plugged into and contributing energy to, right? It's all about energy. We love that. And Jane O is saying, oh my God, Moira is up so late, so early. So yeah, I've got people who are watching around the world right now. And for me, it's 9 o'clock p.m. But for my guest, I think it's 1 a.m. In the morning. And so she's probably, had a long day, and I should probably introduce her. So I just want to tell the quick story of I had put together the livestreamofconsciousness.com, just a website, so that this place has a face on the internet other than just being YouTube and Facebook. And I got an email. I got an email from my guest, Kerry Marie is her name, and she said, I'm an artist, I'm an intuitive artist, I'm a Galactic. That's her creation, Galactic. And actually, let me pop up the banner here to her stuff, which is galactic.com, and her YouTube channel, where you can see some of the stuff we're going to talk about. So she reached out and she said, I don't know how we can help each other, but I'm just kind of reaching out to people who are like-minded and seeing how we can help each other. And I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what my show is about. We're all in this together. We're all on this planet together. And until we realize that and behave like that, it's going to be rough for some people. The people who know, I think, are having an easier time, because it's all about love and feeling good and joy and positivity. So we're doing all right. And Taylor's already, so Kerry's got some fans here already watching. Kerry is so talented. I can't wait to start talking about her work. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome to the show an intuitive artist. You're going to hear all about her story, how we connected, how she's connected to her interpretation of source, right? That's what we talk about, that everybody's modality that they practice is the way that they're expressing their connection to source. So that's what we're going to talk about. So without further ado, welcome to the live stream of consciousness, Kerry Marie.
Hi.
Hi.
Actually 2 a.m. in Scotland right now.
2 a.m. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for staying up and joining me. And Scotland, I think you're definitely the first guest I've had from Scotland. I love that we're internationally vibing right now, right?
Yeah.
Across the planet, but we're together. We're together in this moment with all of your friends. Thank you so much looks like you got a lot of friends out there. April Rose and Mara and Isa, Taylor Moon, Jane O. I love that you brought so many people to this party. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Of course. These like they're my beautiful family, and I'm so grateful that they're here. So thank you guys. I love you.
I love that. And we were talking about that before the show, like what's going on right now with humanity and like this show is just one of many shows where these discussions are happening. You said I speak your language, right? And it's like a lot of times in public you can't always have these conversations about, you know, spirituality and some sacred things and metaphysical things, because not everybody receives it, right? But when you're in a group of people who you know are receiving it, you feel happy. You feel like, okay, now I'm ready to give, because everybody's here to receive, and that's what we're here for. So I'm excited about that. I want to find out all about what Galactic is and what you do, because your painting is very special. It's not just like paint on a canvas, right? There's layers and layers of things to it that are really, really cool. I had actually just discovered what Organite was this year, right? And so there's an element of that in what you do as well, which I found out while I was watching your YouTube videos and how you do your stuff. But before we get into that, I got a couple of questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I can't promise I'm going to answer them perfectly, but I'm ready.
Well,
Let's go.
You know what? I know that you will answer them perfectly, because every answer is the perfect answer. There's no wrong answer to this question. And I love asking it. And I told you I had another surprise for you, because I think that these conversations are expanding a little bit. But the first question is, what is consciousness? What are we talking about?
Consciousness is a very vast subject, and it can mean many different things for many beautiful souls out there. But for me, consciousness is a journey. It's a journey that has many different layers to it. And it's a journey back to the self, but also it's a bridge between the human and the soul. And it's the breakdown of illusions that are within your reality, but also within the external reality as well. And it's the expansiveness of the field, and it's the field within the self that can read source, or can read that quantum field as such, as people are aware of too. So consciousness is a fascinating subject. And I have like my beautiful family that are here. We have these conversations with regards to consciousness and what that means. And the part of the consciousness journey for me is that healing journey. So that journey where you start releasing the shackles within the self, that illusion, and you start to see the truth within you, but it's also the connection to who you truly are, not what you're designed to be from out with, but it's also that connection to others as well. So it's the one and the all, and that you are connected. So with everything and everyone around you, like everything's energy, everything's frequency, everything's vibration. And it's that realization that you are not just a physicality, that you are this expansive mega field of energy that can connect to the all. And the journey with regards to that in itself is just phenomenal. Like I can't even begin to tell you from 2020 to where I am now, the journey that, you know, this consciousness journey that has took me on. And I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, it's rainbows and unicorns and everything's beautiful, because
Right.
it's not. And
Right.
it's not. It's a tough process.
Sure.
The consciousness is being so self-aware of the choices that you're making. It's like asking why you're making those choices. What's driving you to make those choices? Are you making those choices through fear? Are you making those choices out of lack? Like, it's vast, it's expansive.
Yes,
That's
it
my
is.
interpretation. Sorry, it's a long-winded interpretation, but that's my
Well,
interpretation.
you know what? The thing about that question is, I love it because it's so simple and so difficult at the same time, right? Because it is vast, right? There's not really one way to describe consciousness, and there are many layers and levels to consciousness, right? And again, we were talking about the terminology, right? So the spiritual journey, right? Which I just call life, right? When you are incarnated onto this earth, and the journey through the human experience is life, and that's what they call also, the spiritual journey. But like you said, you start to become aware of what's outside of the physical body, what's outside of this realm that we're in, the 3D realm, that there are other realms, right, that are all part of a consciousness. And again, so that's why it's so layered. I don't think there's a wrong answer to that question. And like you said, we are consciousness. Everybody is their own perception of consciousness, right? My experience is my contribution to, or my part of consciousness, right? There's kind of I guess a philosophy, that a spiritual philosophy, that consciousness or source is everything, and that we are all little pieces of that, meant to experience ourselves, to experience source. And I love that philosophy. I love looking at it that way.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
that's what makes it so interesting to me to have these conversations with so many people. So I love that you just reached out from across the pond, or I guess it's even something different than that when it's Scotland.
Yeah.
But that you reached out and connected to me, and when I read the letter, like I connected to who you were. I'm an artist as well, and like there were so many similarities. So I saw my reflection in that letter. Do you know what I mean? And I said, oh, I got to answer this now, and here you are, and we're having this great conversation.
I'm so grateful. Thank you, Michael. Like, I'm very honored to be here, and it's lovely to be here. Like, it's intuitive. It's like connecting into that intuitive feeling within yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like trusting that intuitive feeling. It's trusting yourself and going with it. And I'm not gonna lie, like, before I sent that email, I was like, oh, what am I doing? Because it's like I am stepping my little tootsies into like the vast water now. It's been like paddling away in the bathtub as such, but now we're dipping the toes in the sea and
That's right.
exploring a little bit more, and getting yourself out there and finding that bigger community. Because for me, it's all about community. It's all about connecting in the family and the soul family, and finding that soul family and creating safe spaces for everyone to connect and be able to voice and be able to talk about their experiences, their journey. And I find that absolutely fascinating, because everybody's journey is going to be different, but their journey is part of a jigsaw puzzle. So your journey, my journey, is a part of a jigsaw puzzle that all comes together and creates one massive, beautiful picture, like beautiful scenery. And that's, for me, that's really important in this time and in this moment. That's important right now.
And I actually, you could ask anybody in my audience, I say that all the time. I talk about how each one of us is a puzzle piece. And it's interesting as you go through life, because when you're putting a puzzle together, sometimes you pick up two pieces and they don't necessarily fit next to each other, but they both fit somewhere in that puzzle, and they're part of that bigger picture. And that's the point, like just being able to understand the beauty of that, and respect that other person, their piece of the puzzle, even though it doesn't fit with yours, it fits with the big picture. It's a part of the whole, and I love that. That's a great philosophy. That's a great way to, I think people are struggling right now to walk this earth with with love, right? And walk through their hearts. But that's a great way, I think, to be able to walk through with your heart, is to say, oh, wait a second, we're all just puzzle pieces, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't jive with that person, but it doesn't matter, because they're over there in the puzzle, and I don't have to sit right next to them. I can know that they're there and that they complete the puzzle. But you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It's all different journeys, all beautiful
I
perspectives.
love that. I love that. So I'm going to ask you two more questions.
Oh,
One is the standard, the next standard question that I ask, and then the next one is the new one. So the standard question that I ask, or actually, you know what? I'm going to switch that around, because the standard question I ask kind of leads into who you are and what you do and why. So I do want to talk about that, and that's when I
yeah.
kind of open up the space for you to share who you are with my audience. But the new question that I came up with, because of all of these wonderful podcasts that I'm watching, and Dr. Donald Hoffman, I don't know if you know who he is,
Mhm.
but he's a neuroscientist, and he says that. Well, here's the question. Ready? Not what
Mhm.
is consciousness. The question is, what is reality?
Ooh.
Ooh. What is
Oh.
reality?
So, reality for me is a blank canvas,
Mm-hmm.
and it's what you create within that blank canvas, what you
Mm,
create in your own realities through your thoughts, through your beliefs, through your perceptions and your perspectives. And it's realizing that the reality that we're currently in at this moment in time
mm-hmm.
is not necessarily the reality that you can create. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So it's almost like when you ask the question, what is reality? It really is what you desired it to be, what you believe it to be, not what you're told that
Mm-hmm.
reality is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I know some people believe that this is a matrix.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people believe that, they're part of something much bigger than, this 3D reality. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it's breaking free from the limitations that you create within the self also, and
Sure.
recognizing that those are limitations. That's for me, that's what reality is.
No, you know what? I love that answer. I love that answer, and I think part of that answer, and as you're expressing that, I'm thinking about, yes, reality is what I personally want reality to be. Right?
Mhm,
Is That's what my reality is going to be. However, there is a part of reality in the 3D section of it, right? This realm. There's a part of that is kind of, I don't want to use the word dictated. I'm always really careful with my words, but is created by the collective,
yeah.
right? and
Oh,
and
yes.
and so this is why I think my mission in these conversations, my purpose and intention in these conversations, is to raise the vibration of the collective, because I can't just raise my own vibration and be like, well, screw everyone else, you know what I mean? Because I need everybody else to come to those realizations. And it
Mhm,
sometimes can seem very daunting, right? It can seem like, wow, the world is messed up out there, right?
mhm,
And I try not to feed into that by thinking that, but I
mhm.
do. But so what I do is I realize that it's not the world that's messed up. Is it's these kind of how do I get into this again? Not without getting into like conspiracy theories and stuff, but
Mhm.
when we're born, we're pure, right? And then we're kind of shaped into these beings that are having this uh, experience, but we are layered under all of these kind of expectations of what we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to look like, who,
Yeah.
comparing ourselves to others. So now as adults, I think we've lost a lot of that, and then that's the journey that we were talking about earlier, coming back to
Mhm,
those realizations that we are all powerful, we are connected to the one consciousness. We, out what we think is what our reality is. But again, as we go through, and this age for you and I, we're kind
mhm.
of we've got to deal with the collective, right? The collective is
Yeah.
also kind of telling us what the world is outside, how the world operates. And again, I think through these conversations and everybody holding up their puzzle piece and saying, well, how are you navigating this world? I'm doing this, we can help each other to navigate this world and hopefully love each other, you know what I mean, and raise the vibration together so that we can move on to the next phase.
Yeah, bring it. But this is the consciousness journey is so beautiful, and I find this fascinating because I am really interested in cellular and DNA and how the energy works and how we're connected with regards to that. So my understanding, have you ever heard of the gene keys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the gene keys, we all have gene keys, etc. And there's always these egoic traits that we are birthed with. This is what I believe in, that we come in with regards to, and we work on those egoic traits and we awake to those egoic traits. So when you start the consciousness journey, you start looking at the self and you realize the disconnection from yourself, right? So you start working on the egoic traits. However, what that does on a cellular level is that awakens an energy and it causes a ripple effect. So just by someone doing their consciousness journey and doing the work as such and connecting back to the self, it creates this ripple effect that then awakens somebody else's cellular DNA for them to wake up. So as the consciousness rises, okay, and I believe we all, like people here, people that are on this journey, they're already doing it. They're already helping humanity, or whatever you want to call it, rise in consciousness because they're on this journey, they're doing their work, they're part of this jigsaw piece, and it's doing something vast, huge. And the more people that awake and the more people that rise to consciousness, the more the illusions start to fall. And that's what I believe in. And it's beyond fascinating. And the paintings, I believe, have a big role to play within regards to that. And I'm not talking from an egoic part. We'll get to that part in a minute, but we're not talking from ego here. They do, on a cellular and an energetic level, have a role to play in awakening beautiful souls along their path, along this consciousness journey, whether they choose to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Michael, that's what I believe too.
Yeah, no, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think again, that's why I kind of initiate these conversations so that everybody can kind of feel into the energy of the conversation and the energy of the intention that we're putting out, right? I mean, that's what we're doing. We're just anyone who wants to, it's like, come on in, enjoy, be a part of this, for sure. So I want to talk about, like, you have this beautiful painting behind you. And I kind of build you as an intuitive artist, and that's what I told everyone we were going to be talking about. I want to talk about how you got there, what made you realize what that even is, and how you realized that was something that was coming through you. But the other question that I always ask to kind of lead us to that is, if you have a specific moment that you remember or a story that you can share when it was obvious to you that there was another realm, or that everything wasn't as physical as it seemed to be, that there's something more than that.
Okay. Oh, this is how long have we got, Michael? I'm only joking. We'll try and keep it short because I love a ramble and I love to chat. Okay, so
I want it all.
Okay, I'm gonna give you all. So I would say from a very young age, I was very aware that there was something other than what we perceived. I was a kid that could see things, hear things, was terrified of things, didn't know what they actually were. So obviously, as a young child, I'd go and speak to my parents about it, and they would kind of shut it down, which in turn kind of shut me down a little bit. So it wasn't until there was a significant other, a young friend within my life that had transitioned in a terrible accident. Ooh. And he started coming to me in dream time. And he started telling me things like premonitions as such. And I would like confirm those premonitions just by chance meetings that, and I started going, oh, what's going on? So I went to see a psychic medium here in Aberdeenshire. And she said to me, she's like, I know what book you're reading. Because I was reading a book at that moment in time, because I was like trying to like understand or understand. I like to say understand, try to understand like
Sure.
what was happening to me. Am I going nuts? I thought I was absolutely losing my mind with grief because this friend had transitioned. So she came downstairs. She left me. She went upstairs and she came downstairs and she went, this is the book. Now, I was reading, I think her name was Mia Dolan. And she was talking about her awakening, how she could see spirit, etc. So I was trying to understand what was going on in that term. So that's beautiful. And she kind of took me under her wing. She's like, I don't know who you are, but I feel that, you know, I need to adopt you. So she literally adopted me there and then on that spot.
That's cool.
So, which is beautiful. And then she started teaching me the basics. So in terms of angels and chakras and auras, like the very basics, I started learning about that. And that kind of like continued until 2020. So that happened to me when I was about 20 years old.
Okay.
Was it 20 years old? Yeah, about 20 years old that I kind of woke up to that. And then it wasn't until 2020. So we're talking 1983 I was born. So 2003 kind of woke up to that. So in 2020, so what, 17 years later? Yeah, 17 years. Yeah. 17 years later, I'm lying in bed, minding my own business, Michael. And you know, as you do, you scroll through your phone. And the next thing I knew, my soul was literally out of my body. Just happened. It was almost like they were like, is she ever going to wake up? Right, we've had enough now. It's time to wake up. It's time to get going. It's time to get done what needs to get done. So it's almost like they pulled me out and I could see everything. Absolutely everything. And it was terrifying. And all I did was cry the whole night because I couldn't believe that I'd been in this reality, that I hadn't been able to see the truths as such. And I was like, oh, and then I went down the rabbit hole. You know, this rabbit hole that we all go down and we start looking at different things and what's the truth and what's that and what's this and oh my God, like this has been going on in the world. So that kind of happened for me. But along that way, I met a beautiful soul. And I'm going to give her a shout out, Joanne Dunn from Ascension of Evolution. And she took my hand.
Nice.
Well, she took my hand because she started teaching me about energy and frequency and vibration and how to look after my energy. So that was super powerful because I started working on my energy. And the more I started tuning into my own energy and understanding what that energy was, it's almost like there was this clearing within my own energy field. It wasn't as dense. With that, I started tuning into, let's say, source.
Okay.
And things started coming to me, right? So one night I'm in dream time. I was poorly. I had a really bad flu at the time. And I'm just minding my own business in dream time. And this blue being appears. And I remember it clear as day. And he stood in front of me and he said, I'm here to heal your meridians. And I remember going, what's meridians in dream time? What? And he put his hands out like this. And I could feel the energy like pulsing through me. And I woke up the next morning and I felt much better. So obviously I was like, what was that? Like, yeah, I believe in aliens, but and I didn't know aliens were blue, right? So there was this awakening with regards to that. So I was like, okay, what's going on there? So anyway, I went on that journey, started connecting into all the different, you know, consciousness with terms of like star beings and light beings, etc. And finding out those different things. And I'm back in dream time, let's say a month later, and this blue being standing in front of me again. And he's like, you need to paint me. And I was like,
Mm.
need to paint you? I was like, what do you mean I need to paint you? I don't know what you mean. So I was like, okay, fair enough. I'll just paint you. So then I was like, okay, how am I going to paint this guy? Where do I even begin? So I had a session with another beautiful soul that deals with consciousness and multidimensionality, etc. And he said to me there was a fractal of my soul that had worked with sacred geometry and that I should incorporate sacred geometry into my work.
Okay.
Now, funnily enough, I was already receiving this information and I'd wrote it down. And I had wrote down sacred geometry and crystals prior to having this session. So that was confirmation for me because I thought
Wow.
my mind a little bit.
Yeah,
Right?
that's pretty specific. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, okay. And one day I had enough funds in my bank account. I bought a huge canvas and I was like, I'm going to paint this Arcturian. I found out it was an Arcturian.
Okay.
Paint this Arcturian and let's see what happens. So I drew my first piece of geometry, which was Metatron's cube. Never drawn it in my puff. Never drawn sacred geometry. But I was like, let's go for it. So I drew the sacred geometry. And then I was like, oh, I need to put crystals in this sacred geometry. So tuned into which crystals, and there was orange calcite, there was clear quartz, there was selenite, and I crushed them down to a fine powder.
Okay. By hand, yourself. You did this yourself.
Yeah, by hand, by myself.
So were you told to do it that way? Like, was that like kind of like?
Yeah. It was coming through me.
Wow.
Like I intuitively felt like this is something that had to be done.
Yeah.
So I started locating all the different things that I could do to create this because I could see in my mind, in my third eye, what it looked like. I could see the crystals within that painting, but how am I going to create that? And it was just by chance. I would just search and something would appear like, this is what you need to use within your paintings. This is how you're going to do it, etc. And it just all fell into place.
Wow.
So I then I drew Metatron's cube. I started putting the crystals on Metatron's cube. And then I visually started to see what that had to look like.
Okay.
What Philip Joe wanted. So as I'm painting it, I'm talking away to the painting, as you do.
Yeah.
And the next thing I knew, I stood back and I went, what have I just painted? Like, it's almost like there's a version of me that steps forward to paint and the human version takes a step back.
Right.
Once that version steps out, the human version comes forward and goes, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And so it was like, wow. And I was like, okay, what do I call you? And I immediately heard the name Philip Joe. And I was like, well, that's a bit funny name for a light being. I was like, Philip Joe. And he's like, yeah. And that's how Galactic was born. So the painting happened. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, I need to create a website. I need to get myself out there. I need to get the painting out there. I need to, everything just started falling into place. So the more I started working on my energy and the more my field started expanding, my paintings also started to evolve. So you can see from the very beginning of my journey up until this moment in time, how much the painting has evolved. How much?
Yeah, there's for anybody who's watching, and it seems like a lot of people who are watching are people who know you. There was some talk also about Joanne Dunn. But for anyone who is interested, who hasn't seen the YouTube channel at the bottom there, youtube.com @Galactic, there's videos of Kerry actually doing this from the beginning, like the blank canvas. You see the blank canvas, you see the sacred geometry that she's explaining, and then the crystals, and then there's a layer of selenite on top of that, right? And so that's where I was talking to you earlier about, like, I had just discovered organite because I know there's a similarity in that whole process of what you're creating is the way that the crystals are kind of interacting with each other and put together. And I'm imagining I guess you'll talk about like any sort of other elements that you used on the painting or your other paintings that I saw. But I didn't mean to interrupt. I did want to give a shout out. You gave a shout out earlier, but I do see Joanne Dunn mentioned here. Joanne Dunn be taking all our hands. So Joanne is obviously a a very powerful soul who's reached out and helped a lot of people connected to you. So shout out to Joanne. Hook me up to send her my way, and she can come and we can talk on the show. That would be great.
That would be epic.
But so continue with how your paintings are coming through and being channeled, and Philip Joe is channeling himself through you.
Yeah, he actually sits in my bedroom, Philip Joe. So I've just got this massive blue being that sits in my room, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And he looks out onto the main road. So when anybody's walking past the house, they'll look up to my bedroom window and they just see this massive blue being looking at them with his hands out like this. I absolutely love it, and I get nothing but fun from that.
That's awesome. It's interesting. Let me actually go back to that. So you said your experience initially was, I'm going to heal your meridians, and this idea of holding up his hands, and my girlfriend is a Reiki master.
Wow.
And I immediately thought of, wow, like energy is a universal language. It's a universal force that, beings of all colors and races and dimensionalities, can all, that's like something that can connect us all, and we can all kind of use it. And I do see a question here asking about how the crystals stay on the canvas.
Okay.
I think that's where you're just about at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I use a particular form of resin that sticks to canvas and it holds the crystals, because resin still holds that frequency, and you'll probably know that with delving into organite. It kind of like encapsulates that energy, that vibration, and it expands that further. So beautiful Lisa, I use resin to hold the crystals on the organite. But what I also on the organite, on the sacred geometry. Yeah, there we go. We're jumping ahead of ourselves, the sacred geometry. But what I also do is I can tune into my energy and I can pull through different parts or elements of that energy. So I activate the crystals within these paintings with my own fire energy. So I channel that and I activate with my fire finger, which is this finger here. And like as I'm like putting the crystals on and hardening the resin, I activate the crystals by speaking light language. I don't know if do you know anything about light language?
I absolutely do. Light language is I've had emotional responses to people speaking light language, that's kind of what really changed my perception about it at all. I know for me, when I have an emotional response to something, it's really kind of my soul talking to me and manifesting, taking the thoughts that are in my head and manifesting them physically as my throat is choked up and my eyes are tearing. It's a physical manifestation of a thought. That's like your soul. That's powerful at that moment.
It's super powerful. And Tay-Tay's here. So this painting behind me, Tay-Tay actually helped me with the crystals on this painting. And Tay-Tay can maybe confirm, when we were working on the crystals and we were activating it with both our fire energy, once the crystals all amalgamated together in one, you could feel this like powerful force of energy like ripple out. And we were like, whoa, and you get tingles. You get absolute tingles. I've had a neighbor that's came into my house. She's not conscious in any way, but she came into my house and I've got a beautiful painting of Metatron's cube with the angel wings. And she went, "Did you paint that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I painted that." And she's like, "Wow." And she done this. And I was like, "What's happening?" And I was like, Alison, I've mentioned her name. Alison, if she's watching, hello, Alison. And she was like, I don't know what happened there. And I was like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I need to get the hell out of here." And she actually found it.
Wow.
So I
That's
know,
amazing.
yeah, they have like a huge effect on an energetic level, a consciousness level, and a multidimensional level as well.
Right. Wow.
Are we digressing? Yeah, right. So sorry, I get excited and I'm like, go over here, and then I go over here.
That's amazing. So this is what I wanted you to talk about, because I was reading some of this on your website, and you talk about how the paintings activate people, you know, their activations. And so you just described somebody who kind of has no recognition of their own consciousness and spirituality, encountering something that like just overwhelmed them with that, with the energy, and they didn't even know what to make of it, you know.
No, they
That's
didn't. They were
awesome.
just, wow. And like my party trick is when anybody new comes into the house, I say to them, do you want to come meet Philip Joe? So I take them upstairs. And I'm like, meet Philip Joe. And I've seen so many different reactions. Some people are like, oh my Lord, what is that? And other people are like, oh, I feel weird. And they run out my room. And my
Wow.
sister is a prime example of it.
That's
When
cool.
it's phenomenal. When she first met Philip Joe, she wasn't on any consciousness level. She wasn't awake as such. And she stood in front of conscious Joe. Let's call him Conscious Joe. She stood in front of Conscious Joe, and she messaged me 24 hours later going, what have you done to me? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, my dreams were wild. My head is thumping, and it's ever since I've stood in front of that painting of yours. And I was like, wow. And as the weeks gone on, she was like, started receiving information, and she started questioning things,
Wow.
started waking up to things around her. And I was like, this is phenomenal. Like, oh, I absolutely love this. Right. So the more like I was getting these confirmations that they were doing something to people on an energetic level, the more information I started getting through. So when I received the sacred geometry for each painting, because I received different paintings, I draw them in my little Google book, doodle book. And I start seeing like particular sacred geometric patterns. And Robert Gilbert, I don't know if you've heard of Robert Gilbert.
Nope.
Okay, Robert Gilbert has a vast knowledge with regards to sacred geometry. Now, I've never connected with this man. I didn't even start watching this man until a year ago. But even recently, I sat and watched him on a podcast.
Okay.
And he mentioned something about sacred geometric patterns and how they have a force field. And he was talking about the atomic bomb. And when they went into the atomic bomb after it had been deployed, they found the sacred geometric pattern of the dodecahedron. So I don't know if you know if dodecahedron is actually the frequency and the representation of the ether, right? So I found that really fun.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, this is fascinating. So what happens when I receive these sacred geometric patterns and the crystals, it creates a force field and an energetic field that literally ripples out into the collective. Okay. And it starts working on energies, frequencies, and vibrations within the collective. When people look at that, if they're ready for it at a soul level, but also a cellular level, they'll start to experience certain things within themselves.
Right.
So when we're doing the activation as such with the fire finger and we're activating the sacred geometric patterns, I then go into the painting. This sounds really bonkers. I go into the painting and I pull out the force field. So I don't know if you've ever seen Doctor Strange and how he uses.
Yeah. Sure.
It's a bit like that.
Okay.
Right?
Sure. And you
Not-
know, the thing about that's kind of interesting. You say, have you ever seen Doctor Strange? I wouldn't have thought of that because I've been to pranic rebirth, breathwork ceremonies. I've been to different things where you can see a Reiki master or a shaman, you know, doing that, pulling the energies out, you know, physically doing those kinds of motions, because again, I mean, that's the connection, that's the individual connection to how to move around the energy, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, you pull out these energetic fields and then it does something. And as I'm going through the journey of the painting, I go through particular aspects of the self. So I know that they work on a cellular level because obviously I'm right in the midst of it. So
Mhm.
I start connecting more into the consciousness and what's coming up for me when I'm working on these paintings with regards to the consciousness and starting releasing that. So I'll go through it first in order to talk about what these paintings actually do on a cellular level.
Right.
In the prints, like Oberon behind me here, I don't know if you can see his sacred geometric pattern. Can you see it? It's got the infinity
Yes,
symbol.
yeah, I do. I do see it. It's like almost like you can see almost like Nazca lines also, like kind of like yeah, yeah,
Because it all connects like a force field. And when
yeah.
you look at it from an above perspective,
Mhm.
you can see the multidimensionality. So if you pull that out, you can see all the many different layers and
Right.
how that leads through to the multidimensionality in source as such.
Wow. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Amazing. You know, I'm just listening to you talk about how people are affected by the paintings, right? But you're not like when I read it, I was like, okay, I didn't quite get it, right? But when you just described to me the actual a few people and the reactions that they've had, now I kind of understand it. It makes a little bit more sense. So my question to you would be, have you shown these in public to a gallery, or is it just really a limited private people have seen these? Because it sounds like it would be something really phenomenal for people to go
Yeah.
in groups and be activated, and then everybody kind of relay their experience to each other and
Yeah.
validate what's happening.
Yeah.
Brian's out there, the Wizard of Oz, who says fascinating technique.
Thank you.
He's also a wizard and does some amazing things with energy and ancient knowledge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Hello, brother. Love that. Yes, there is. So there is a beautiful both. I've got two brothers here in Scotland, and they actually have an Awakening Alchemy Retreat Centre that's based in Midmar,
Oh,
which is
cool.
in Aberdeenshire, just out of West Hill in Aberdeenshire. And I put my paintings there. So the paintings actually go there because they're in a sacred space, etc. And people
That's
can
awesome.
go and experience the paintings as such until there's someone that comes forth that wants to purchase that painting and they
Right.
feel drawn to be the guardian of that painting. They can actually go
Wow.
and experience the painting itself.
That's
And
awesome.
right now there's Merlin. Now Merlin, that was an epic journey painting Merlin. I can't even begin to explain that journey because I had him talking to me whilst I'm painting him, but consciously aware of what I was doing. And I
Mhm.
remember just painting and Michael going, "Oh, this doesn't look right. He looks like he's some drunk Santa right now." And I was like, "What am I gonna do?" So I was like, "Okay, trust." And Merlin was like, "I can help you, just let me in." So I started like finishing them off, and you'll probably see on my YouTube the journey of Merlin and how he came about. And you take a step back, and I actually accidentally painted 6 fingers, not 5. And I was like, wow,
I don't believe in accidents, just so you
no, no, no.
know.
So then you do some research and you find out you actually did have a hand of 6 fingers.
There you go.
I was like,
See
wow,
that?
that's
I knew it. I knew it.
cool. And he
That's
followed
awesome.
right. So when you're actually in the presence of Merlin, the actual painting of Merlin, you feel him. You feel him like look through your soul,
Oh,
and you
that's awesome.
feel him watching you around this room. And I've had reports from my brothers at the spiritual retreat center in Myanmar that say that people are like weirded out by him because they can feel him, but they
Yeah.
feel like he's talking to them, but they also feel that he's watching them as they walk around the
Oh,
room.
wow.
Oh, wow.
I'm fascinated. I want to be I mean I've seen the YouTube channel and I've seen images and I agree you can feel it if you're tuned in and you're aware, you can feel it, and from what you're saying, people who aren't tuned in can also feel it, and it kind of freaks them out a little bit. But I'm dying to be in the presence of one of these things. Maybe we got to get you to come over to America, do a show over here in the United States.
Yeah, I would love that. I'm already packed, Michael. What are you talking about?
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. But like, no, honestly, like, I mean, I know I've spoken to visionary artists and I've talked about channeling and paintings and the things that come through, but I don't think I've ever spoken to someone who's actually produced paintings that activate other people and has stories, like real stories of this person saw the painting and they couldn't even be in the room with it. They had to leave. You know, that's powerful stuff.
It's super powerful stuff. And like with regards to the painting, so the most recent one that I done for Lionsgate, I called The Observers. And I'll tell you, that was a 9-month journey creating that painting. So paint, like, I'm 4'10". These paintings are about 5 foot. So they're bigger than me.
Wow. Yeah.
Not these tiny little paintings. So I'm like, I have to lie on the canvas to like create the geometry, etc. And it's funny, and it's
I encourage people, by the way, while she's describing this, I encourage you to go watch the YouTube channel, because you could see some of this on the YouTube channel. It's fun to watch.
It's epic fun. And beautiful Tate was the one that suggested, why don't you like record these? I was like, oh yeah, I never thought of that before.
It's great.
Yeah. I then invested in a GoPro and started creating the videos, etc. So thank you, Tate.
And I think and sorry to interrupt, but I think there's an energy in that whole process itself. I think that's what fascinated me in watching it, because there's a lot of intention that goes into it, and I think intention is one of the aspects of energy that is the powerful one, right? Because it's a generation of a thought and a specific thought meant with an intention, right? Just the word itself is very powerful. So it's great. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
Well, we do have somebody who says, yes, I see you exhibiting your work in the USA. So we've already manifested the vision.
Yeah, it's happening. I'm coming with my paintings, Michael. Right.
There you go.
But the observers, let's go back to the observers. So the observers took 9 months, and in that journey, that was a tough journey. So 2020 I see as is like this mass awakening of those beings that came here to serve a purpose, that woke up within 2020. But for me, 2024 has really been the awakening of the self, the journey to the self, and healing all those traumas, because this is a huge part of this work. This is a huge part of this journey, is connecting and going inner and understanding who you are on a cellular and a DNA level, but also a soul level and on a consciousness level. And it's being so fully aware of the choices that you're making and what you're creating, and observing. Not being the participant, but observing the reality around you and being so aware of that reality and the roles that you play within that reality around you. Hence why the observers was birthed.
Awesome.
And I also had the vision of the pyramids and what the pyramids were in Egypt. Right? Oh, this is fascinating.
Tell us.
Right? Okay. So I then started seeing Arcturians, and there was 2 specific Arcturians that wanted to be in this painting. And I was like, oh, we're doing this? And I was like, yep, you're doing this. And I was like, okay. And the sacred geometry pattern within that painting in itself was absolutely nuts. So the more that I do these paintings, the more these paintings start getting bigger and bigger and start evolving on a huge dimensional geometrical pattern, force field, energetic field, whatever you want to call it. So that took about from the minute of drawing the geometric patterns to the minute of like crystallizing, I call it, crystallizing the painting in itself before I've actually started painting it.
Right.
That took about 3 or 4 months to do, because it's so time consuming, because I do everything by hand. I don't have stencils or templates. I do everything by hand.
Yep.
And then the vision started coming through, and they wanted stargates
in
that painting. They wanted dragons within that painting. So myself and a few others that are probably within this chart work with dragon energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in the year 8, we're in the year of the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
What does the dragon? The dragon for me is like part of creator. Okay, they are creators as such themselves. They're a huge
Mm-hmm.
energies. Yeah, they're a huge, vast energy, and they had a role to play within this painting as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's many pathways up to the pyramid, and when I paint these things, I've got an idea of what they look like within my third eye on a visual level. But as I start painting them, they evolve. Things can change. And I'd actually painted the Arcturians looking onto people.
Hmm.
And I finished it and I went, it doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. No. And I had blacked them out.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, like, oh no, that feels right. So it looks like they're looking in on the painting. So I'm
interesting.
observing what's actually going on.
Wow.
Right? And I thought this is cool, hence why we called it the observer.
That's interesting, and the way that kind of happened from, just looking at the painting and saying something's not right here, and then trying to paint them out. But in reality, you kind of that's really interesting. Wow, Kerry, that's so cool.
Oh, it's super cool. There's a rainbow path that goes up to the main pyramid in Egypt. And I've actually called it the initiation pyramid. So I'm in meditation last week. And I ended up being in that painting, the observer's painting. And I started walking up the rainbow path. Like I could feel myself in the painting. And I was like, what's going on here? I'm getting goosebumps right on the top of my head as I'm talking about it. So I'm walking right up to the initiation pyramid and I enter. And as I enter the initiation pyramid, I'm lying on a marble table and I could then feel my energetic field rise like above me. So it's like my human vessel was here, but my energy was, and I could see it. I could feel it. I could see it, and I could see how it was functioning. And it did look a little bit like Doctor Strange, and all the sacred geometric elements within that energy field. And it was like I had to push my own fire through that energy field to clear what was there blocking it, right? Okay. So then I felt the energy field coming back in. And as I felt it coming back into my body, I could feel huge tingles in my high heart and within my heart chakra. So I could feel this opening as such, this huge connection into the heart with itself. So I then step out of the initiation pyramid and I could see the Arcturians looking at me, but I could see beyond. It was like being something like Harry Potter. I could see beyond the observers. I could see the reality behind them. What you can't see in the painting, I could actually see. And I was like, whoa, is this like another version? Is this a different part of these paintings where you energetically can now jump into them and experience whatever you need to experience for you in a soul and a cellular level?
That's incredible. Wow.
This is so cool.
It is. That's really cool. I mean, that's amazing. And what it makes me think, I just want to say hello, Jennifer Rose popping in to say a quick hello. What's up, Jennifer? Always good to see you popping up. What I wanted to say is I feel like, have you done any sort of like past life regressions? Does this relate to, do you feel like a past life in any way, like with the pyramids, with an Egyptian maybe time period or anything like that? It's because it sounds like, again, it's like you walked into your painting and you had this experience, but it's very reminiscent of, what we might hear about in ancient times, in ancient, Egyptian pyramid ceremony or something.
Oh yeah. There's a huge fractal of me that is part of Egypt, that life in Egypt as such. And
I think that's an oxymoron. Huge fractal.
Yeah.
I don't know if that huge fractal. I get what you're saying. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm like, huh? Okay. So there's this huge part of me that is part of Egypt as such. And I used to do this work in Egypt. but the memory comes back to the Atlantic period. And not so long ago, I had an experience with regards to sacred geometry. And there was a realization that I was part of something where I created sacred geometry to help people on an energetic level back in the day. Back in the day when I was young. No, back in the day.
When I was an Egyptian queen, yes.
Yeah, there we go. And that has carried on into this lifetime, because back in that period in time, the Atlantic time, there was too much power and it caused a bit of disruption and chaos. So it's almost like in this lifetime, I've to rectify that and put it to good and put it for good intention and put it for the collective and to help humanity put things right within this lifetime, within this consciousness, within this frame at this moment in time. So yeah, I don't really know the full ins and outs of what my soul did, because there's only so much they'll give me. And I quite like it that way. Because then, the less I know, the better. And that's why I feel the less I know of what I used to get back, like what I used to get up to, better for me in this moment in time. And that's beautiful in itself. So the intention is just to create and just to trust and just to flow with whatever is coming through me. And I'm currently working on another painting at this moment in time for the December the 21st, the winter solstice gateway.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and that's powerful. And I'm super excited to bring this one. Like the more I do them, I get so excited when I create them. And then go up in the retreat center. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I love that. When I encounter somebody who is so purely themselves, right? Like you are so purely yourself. You are, you don't maybe understand all of the stuff that's happening, but you're diving in head first because it feels good. It feels right to you. There's something about it energetically that is connecting you to it, and it's a way for you to connect to that higher energy and express that higher energy. I think it's awesome. I'm kind of a little envious. I mean, for me, like, listen, I'm a creative. I do photography. I play music. I do things that connect me to source, and I do feel like it helps me to understand what channeling is and get into flow state. You know what I mean? Like all of these things. So I certainly could do that, but I feel like, I don't have my Philip Joe, like I don't have my own thing like that, which is very specific. I don't know. Do you know? Oh my God, I can't forget. Danielle Lipton. Do you know Danielle Lipton?
I've heard of Danielle Lipton.
So I've had Danielle on the show, and Danielle has a relationship with an Arcturian, and like that's her partner or her other self or her higher self, or so it was a very interesting conversation about her relationship and how that all works. What I'm really excited about, and I think I was saying this when we started the show, is the moment that we're in as a human race, and even though it may not be in public, being able to have shows like this and have these conversations, because for me, and I mentioned this to you as well, all of these stories of people's experiences, I feel very strongly that I can't deny anyone of their experience. If someone's telling me they did this or they experienced that, no matter how kooky it may sound to me, who am I to tell them they didn't experience that, right? But what I love about it is that, like, even in the mainstream, they're talking about, disclosure and all of this stuff is happening, but it's happening in all the different facets of the communities, the spiritual community, the political community, all the economic community. All of these things are happening, and I'm kind of getting off track. What I find is people experience these energies the way that they're ready to and the way that they see them, right? So some people might see Arcturians and aliens, some people might see Archangel Michael, some people, everybody sees these things on a different way, but to me, they're all the same message, which is energetic.
Yeah.
It's coming from energy. It's understanding that energy and connecting to it, and within yourself, and then the reflection of it. Right. I guess that is yourself as well. Right. Seeing yourself in the energy.
Yeah.
But I love it, and I think that that's what connected us, right? And what made you reach out to me and me respond to you. It's all kind of, everything happens the way it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
the way it's supposed to, and when it's supposed to. And like I said, that's what gives me comfort and helps me smile through the day. I feel like, go ahead.
No, we are exactly where we are meant to be always.
Absolutely, right here on the live stream of consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where we're meant to be right now at this moment. But you are such a doll to talk to, especially because of the subject matter. I personally love it. You know what I mean? And I love being able to talk about this stuff freely and comfortably. And I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing all of your experiences. I'm imagining we've only scratched the surface with you.
Yeah.
So maybe we're going to have to get you back. Maybe we're going to have to get you to America. Oh, I did see, by the way, somebody did say something here. Let me just see. Exhibiting your work. They talked about, they do have your work on a blanket here in the United States.
Oh, yeah,
So I guess you're selling your prints of your work on blankets, which is, I love that too.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Fascinating, because you can feel the energy when you wrap yourself in that blanket.
That's amazing.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So I've got Oberon on a blanket.
Nice.
Whenever I feel poorly, I pull the blanket around me and I can actually feel it working on my energetic body, because it's a sacred geometric pattern. It still holds that energy, regardless if you've got the original print or just a print. So that in itself blows my mind.
I love that.
The more I can get, these prints out into the world, the more I can help people like on their journeys as such. And that's my intention. I just want to help people. I just want to, even if it's just looking at the paint, and that's all I care about.
And how can anyone argue with an intention like that? That's like the most best intention you can ask for.
Yeah. It is. It's the best intention. It's important, like these communities and coming together. Like there's many other beautiful souls out there that maybe have this beautiful gift that they're just not sure of, they're not confident about, and they're hiding as such. Like I've been hiding, Michael. Like I've been hiding. This year I've been trying to get myself out there, but I've been like, I feel a little bit safe. No, don't feel safe, and then I'll go hide in a cave. So this is a big step.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you came on here and you came out of your comfort zone, and look at all your friends that showed up to support you. I love that you brought your friends with you. That's beautiful. Thank you guys so much for coming and checking out the show with Kerry. If you liked it, please subscribe. I'm just trying to grow the community and get these messages out there for everybody. So the synchronicities are amping up. Thank you, Kerry, from Ninja Kitty, who's one of my viewers. This live was so good. Congrats to you both. Thank you. I appreciate that. So subscribe if you liked it. Tell your friends about it. Bring them down to the next party. Kerry, do you have any words of wisdom, any advice, any words of love for the audience before we sign off?
Yeah, absolutely. The main important thing that I feel for everyone in this moment in time is to trust. Okay? Trust everything that you're feeling. And remember how connected you are to everyone around you, how loved you are, how powerful you are, and not to ever give up. There's going to be tough moments, okay? There's going to be tough moments. There's going to be challenges. And sometimes you may feel you want to give up. I've been there. I've done that. However, don't, keep going. There's a reason you're here. There's a purpose as to why you're here. We need you. We're all connected. You're part of this family. You're part of this tribe. And even if you're sitting in the background going, oh, I'm too scared to connect it with anyone. Don't, like, Michael, I'm sure you agree. You're here with open arms. Like, anybody, just come. Like, let me give you a hug. Like,
Absolutely.
we're all here in this together. And the more that we recognize that, and the more that we connect, and the more that we create these communities and collaborate with each other, the more that we can get everybody out there and raise the consciousness and just return it back to where it's meant to be, that pure love, that compassion.
Oh, right. Issa just said that. Right as you said that, the same moment that you said that, it came out. Absolutely. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you too, Michael.
And really, like, that's it. That's what that's what it's all about. This moment. I just want to say, next week I have Melissa Boyer on my show. Melissa, let me just grab her card because I just want to do it justice to who she is. She's a pastor, but she also she works with this Gestalt therapy.
Okay.
And it was very interesting. And so I'm actually going to be next week. I'm going to be going and having a session with her before we do the show, and then so we're going to talk about that on the show. So that's what's up next week. Again, thank you guys so freaking much for being here, and thank you. It's late there now. It's 3:00 in the morning. You got to go to bed. But thank you for staying up and doing this with me.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Like,
yeah.
thank you for trusting me as well, because you never know when you're going to get on there.
It's true. No, it's true. And I love that comment about trust, because that's true. And that's how I like to live my life. And you know what? Sometimes you learn your lesson. You trust someone you shouldn't have, but you certainly proved to be an amazing guest. I think any of my audience loved you. And I certainly loved having this conversation. So thank you. And we'll have you back again.
Yay! Anytime. I'm there already with bells and whistles, Michael.
Awesome. All right, folks. Awesome. All right. Until next week. Peace. Okay. We love you. We'll see you next week, guys.
Love you.